Good evening. I'm Patricia Vallone with a CTV News update. The Office of the Attorney General agrees to withdraw its appeal in a congressional redistricting case. Governor Hogan says with that development, he has agreed to sign the new map into law. The legal process has caused election deadlines to be postponed, creating havoc for candidates and election officials. The case was one of several brought by the GOP, accusing Democrats of gerrymandering the map. Judge Lynn Battaglia agreed and gave state officials only days to come up with a new map. They did, but Battaglia deferred a ruling on the issue because Hogan had not signed or vetoed the measure.
This is a huge win for democracy and for improvement in the process, and now we're going to have fair maps and fair elections in this election cycle. But we still have a piece of legislation before the legislature that we've been attempting to get passed for 8 years, which would fix this process permanently, not just for the next 10 years, but forever, so that they couldn't go back and continue to cheat and break the Constitution the next time. And so there's, they acted pretty quickly on these maps in just a matter of days. I'm not sure why they can't act on that legislation just as fast and get that done before the session's over with.
The primary election has already been delayed by nearly a month to July 19th. It's unclear whether an additional delay will be necessary. The latest, the state could hold the primary is August 16th to comply with federal election laws. And the U.S. Senate Judiciary Committee prepares to vote on the historic nomination of Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson to the Supreme Court. Members of the 22-person panel have spent hours speaking for or against her nomination. It's expected that the vote will end with an 11-11 tie. If this happens, Senate Democrats will move on a motion to send her confirmation to the full Senate for a vote.
Seeing the evidence of her even-handedness ourselves. In her time on the bench, she has ruled for and against law enforcement, for and against immigration enforcement, for Republican administrations and also for Democratic administrations, for and against labor groups. At her hearing, she detailed the methodology she applies to ensure that she comes to each case with an independent mind.
Does she have an understanding of the meaning of the 9th Amendment and the 10th Amendment? At her hearing and her meetings with senators, Judge Jackson explained that she does not have a judicial philosophy, instead looked at her methodology. She said to look at her cases to see that methodology worked. I did, and I found the results of that methodology alarming.
If Jackson is confirmed by the Senate, she will be the first Black woman to serve on the Supreme Court. Montgomery County is urging eligible residents to get their booster shots. County clinics are now offering second booster doses to eligible residents only. To get this particular shot, you should have received your first booster shot at least 4 months ago. Officials say as of March 28th, only 53% of Montgomery's vaccinated population received boosters.
But now our focus is on having individuals who are vaccinated to get boosted, either a first booster or a second booster, because we know that based on data and science, the vaccines wane over time, and we want to have and maximize protection by getting a second or a first or a second shot.
Eligible residents are encouraged to make an appointment by visiting the website on your screen. Well, Prince George's reaches a COVID milestone. As of today, the number of people infected with the coronavirus since the beginning of the pandemic has surpassed 170,000. Meantime, the closely watched positivity rate in Prince George's is up slightly to 1.81%. 3 Marylanders have died since yesterday. 131 people remain in the hospital. It was 54 years ago today that America's civil rights movement suffered a deadly setback. That was the day on April 4th, 1968, that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was cut down by an assassin's bullet at the Lorraine Hotel, or motel rather, in Memphis, Tennessee. King was in the city to support striking sanitation workers. His death sparked deadly riots across the country, including Baltimore and in Washington, D.C. James Earl Ray pleaded guilty to King's murder and received a 99-year prison sentence. You're watching CTV News. I'm Patricia Vallone. Still ahead, Maryland's Comptroller wants to continue gas tax relief for another 2 months. We'll have the details next. Welcome back. A woman reported missing over the weekend has been found dead in Brandywine. Police report today that the body of 55-year-old Celeste Smith has been located. Authorities say there were no signs of foul play. Smith went missing Saturday morning from the 6900 block of Lenape Court. Prince George's police are investigating a weekend murder. A man was found shot in a car at about 5:30 yesterday morning near the intersection of Suitland and Silver Hill Roads in Suitland. The victim was taken to a nearby hospital where he died a few hours later. Anyone who may have information is asked to contact police. A large crowd at a car meetup in Laurel surrounds a Prince George's police cruiser, jumping on it, kicking and vandalizing it. The incident happened last night in an industrial area located at Chevy Chase Drive and Schweitzer Lane. A lone officer showed up to break up the crowd of at least 100, and that's when people started attacking his cruiser. Police were able to break up the crowd a short time later. No one was injured in the incident, but investigators want your help identifying the perpetrators who damaged the cruiser. These are photos of some of the suspects. If you have any information on the incident or can identify anyone in these photos or video, you're asked to contact police. It's now up to Maryland voters to decide if they want to legalize recreational marijuana. The House voted 94-39 for a constitutional amendment already approved by the Senate. The amendment does not require approval by Governor Hogan. CTV asked people on the street if they plan to vote for the measure.
I don't smoke marijuana, but if that's what they want to do, I don't have a problem with it.
You think you'll vote for it?
Yeah, I'll vote for it.
Because it has healing properties. You know, it's not always bad. It helps people with certain disorders, or if they have like depression, or if they have anxiety, or they're going through different things. It helps them in certain ways, yeah.
So you would definitely vote for it? Okay.
Personally, I don't smoke marijuana. And I think that the only way it should be legalized if it's for something like for glaucoma, something for medical uses, not just to sit around and get high. But it's saying also we got to sit down and think about the history of stuff like even with alcohol. The government got to find a way to get their money or their percentage in anything that everybody's doing. So that's what the government looking at. Where if everybody's smoking marijuana, we tax it and sell it, we could get our profit on it the same way they did with the thing about alcohol. So personally, myself, no.
You're not going to vote for it?
No.
The House also voted 89-41 in favor of a separate measure that takes steps to implement recreational marijuana if voters do approve that amendment. But it leaves the matter of licensing and taxes for lawmakers to decide next year. The state comptroller wants to give Marylanders more of a break at the pump. Peter Franchot is urging Governor Larry Hogan and lawmakers to extend the gas tax suspension by at least 60 days. Franchot says as other states rush to enact gas tax holidays, Maryland should not be the first to resume taxes at the pump.
Clearly we can afford it. I'm the money guy. 3 months, which is what we originally proposed, is $250 million. That's a relatively small, very affordable amount compared to the $7.5 billion surplus. Yeah, so hopefully they'll do it. That's good news. It's good news that it's going on right now, and I see lots of license plates from other states going to Maryland gas stations, so that's all good news.
Currently, the gas tax suspension will run until April 16th. Still ahead on CTV News, the story of a Maryland woman and a coffee legacy. Our Keisha Butts has the story after the break. Stay with us.
I tell my son, I love you every single day. I love you. Now, my dad has never said that to me. Not because he doesn't love me, but because culturally it wasn't comfortable for him. Now that he's a grandfather, he says, "I love you" to my son every time he sees him. My advice to all the fathers out there, forget the cultural restrictions. They grow up way too fast for you to waste even a single precious moment.
Thanks for staying with us. A longtime DC newscaster has died. Bruce Johnson, who spent 44 years anchoring the news on USA 9, retired in 2020. Johnson stopped by the CTV studios last month to talk about his memoir, Surviving Deep Waters. Known for his street-savvy coverage of local politics and urban affairs, Johnson came to D.C. from Louisville, Kentucky. According to his wife, Johnson died yesterday at a hospital in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, after suffering a heart attack. Bruce Johnson was 71 years old. The University of Maryland, Baltimore County has a new president. She's Dr. Valerie Shears Ashby from Duke University, where she was Dean of the Trinity College of Arts and Sciences. Dr. Ashby begins her tenure at UMBC on August 1st. She takes over for the highly regarded Dr. Freeman Rabowski. Dr. Ashby has a doctorate degree in chemistry from the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. A Maryland woman is keeping her family legacy alive with coffee beans. Keisha Butts has the details about a new online shop.
I like that it reminds me of my family, first and foremost. I like that it gives you an extra, jolt of energy in the morning before you go to work, or on the weekends before you go to run your errands. I just love coffee.
Meet Teresa Mead. This Java enthusiast created Jack and Joe's Coffee during the pandemic to honor her late mother and grandfather. She says her mother would always order a white chocolate mocha with oat milk.
She loved coffee. When I went to my grandfather's house, he was a chef, an entrepreneur as well. He would always have a fresh pot of coffee brewing. Everything he did. Watching wrestling, watching the news, he had a cup of coffee. And at a young age, I just was like, I have to have coffee. Coffee was like something we did as a family.
Right now, you can only order Jack and Joe's Coffee online or at different pop-ups she hosts in Maryland. Mead has about 20 to 30 flavors, with Cinnabon as the most popular. And her customers come from all over, including New York.
It feels great. Growing up in the family of entrepreneurs, I already felt like there was nothing that I couldn't do. So that kind of helped me at a young age. And like I said before, to have a brand that represents and leaves a legacy for my family, it means everything.
While Jack and Joe's Coffee is an online business now, Mead plans to open a shop in the future. For CTV News, Keisha Butts.
Jack and Joe's coffee beans come from Ethiopia, Kenya, and Tanzania. For more information, you can go to jackandjoescoffee.com. In sports news tonight, the University of South Carolina is on top once again. For the second time in 5 years, the Gamecocks have won the women's college basketball championship. They took down the Connecticut Huskies by the score of 64-49 yesterday. Led by head coach Don Staley, the Gamecocks began the season ranked number 1 and ended the season hoisting another championship trophy.
UConn played an incredible game today. They cut the lead to 6, and they just kept fighting and fighting and fighting. And I thought our players were just really resilient, and they didn't want to lose this. So close to being national champions. They did not want to lose this battle, so they kicked it in another gear to get it done.
Meantime, the men's championship game will be played tonight. It will feature North Carolina and Kansas. Well, checking your weather forecast, tonight mostly cloudy, lows near 45. Tomorrow, showers likely with highs in the 60s. Wednesday, partly sunny with a chance of showers. Thursday, rain likely throughout the day, highs about 63 degrees. And that wraps up our CTV News update. I'm Patricia Vallone. Have a great night.